We are learning more about that text message to former President Trump's then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, one that outlined a way to deliver the election to Trump before the votes had even finished being counted. Three sources tell me and my colleague Jamie Gangel that members of the bipartisan House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection believe that former Energy Secretary and Texas Governor Republican Rick Perry texted Mark Meadows on November 4th. That's the day after the election. Now, multiple sources who have Perry's phone number and separately databases of phone numbers confirm that the number from which that text was sent, which CNN obtained from a source, that number belongs to Rick Perry. That unsettling text message sent while votes were still being counted in several states. It said, quote, "Here's an aggressive strategy. Why can't the states of Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and other Republican-controlled state houses declare this is BS, where conflicts in election not called that night, and just send their own electors to vote and have it go to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States?" Now, a spokesman for Rick Perry tells us that the former governor denies having sent that text. When asked how he explained the fact that the text came from Rick Perry's phone number, which we confirmed through multiple ways, the spokesman had no explanation. The text message was among more than 6,000 documents that Mark Meadows turned over to the committee. It was made public on Tuesday when Democratic Congressman and January 6th committee member Jamie Raskin of Maryland read the text on the House floor during debate on whether to hold Mark Meadows in criminal contempt of Congress for refusing to testify. Raskin cited the text as evidence demonstrating why the committee needed to interview Meadows about the events leading up to and on January 6.
How did this text influence the planning of Mark Meadows and Donald Trump to try to destroy the lawful electoral college majority that had been established by the people of the United States and the states for Joe Biden?
We should note, Raskin mistakenly said on the House floor that it was a House lawmaker who sent the text. They do not believe that it was. They believe it was Rick Perry, the committee. After CNN reached out for comment, a source close to Raskin told us that the congressman confirmed that he had actually made a mistake, and he has now written a letter to correct the congressional record. Let's talk more about this with CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel, my partner in this story. As always, a pleasure working with you. So what do you think is the significance of this text, which was sent the day after Election Day, before many states had even called who won?
My understanding is look, there are a lot of important texts the committee has. This is a very important one because it is November 4th. And aggressive, to use the word in the text, to say the least. Imagine, the election has not been called. The votes have not been counted. And this text message comes to Mark Meadows basically laying the groundwork to overturn the election. It is hard to imagine how this comes from Rick Perry is the longest serving governor of Texas 3 times. He served for 2 years as Energy Secretary in Trump's cabinet. How this impacted what happened between November 4th and January 6th is going to be key to the committee's work.
And it's interesting also because we should note the 3 states that he was calling for, it appeared that he picked them, among other reasons, that they had Republican legislatures.
Absolutely.
And one of them, Trump went on to win, North Carolina. He cites Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. North Carolina, Trump won.
But no one was waiting for the voters
they didn't want
to
the
vote.
counting to happen.
They were ready to go in, send your own electors, ignore the voters.
And we only have had eyes into a handful of these texts when Mark Meadows turned over 6,000 documents.
So I think this is a very key point, Jake. We know, you and I have both heard that in other instances where we're seeing text messages, it's not just one text message. We don't know yet, but were there multiple text messages from this phone? How did Mark Meadows respond to that? And remember again, Mark Meadows voluntarily handed this over without any claim of privilege to the committee. It's one of the first texts the committee has released. They clearly see it as important. And despite the fact that Perry says he didn't author it, we do know it came from his phone. And I'm told that eventually all of these texts will be identified.
Well, it's easy to deny something through a spokesperson. Right. It's less easy to do so when you're under oath. We should note about Governor Perry, this is somebody who in 2015, when he ran for president, he's run for president twice, didn't win either time. In 2015, running against Trump, he referred to Trumpism as a cancer of conservatism and said that that cancer would ultimately corrupt conservative principles. And, you know, I mean, the evidence is right there.
I spoke to some longtime Republicans, people who know Rick Perry very well about this. They could not understand why he would do this. But it does speak to something we've seen over and over again with Trump loyalists. And that is, you know, this text is going around the American people. End of story.
Yeah. Jamie Gingell, thank you so much. Sure. A pleasure working with you on this. I'm sure we'll have more stories in the future on this subject. Let's discuss with our panel. And S.E. Cupp, let me start with you because before the show, you heard me rehearsing. We have 3 individuals on background and a 4th off the record confirming Rick Perry's phone number for us, the number that we got from a source familiar with where this text came from. And then why don't you tell people about the conversation you and I just had?
Well, I said, you know, if you want to share the number, I have it as well. I have the number because he emailed me his number to talk about something unrelated, actually about mental health. We had a really interesting, good, nice conversation about mental health just a few months ago. And I corroborated that was the number that he personally gave me. And so, you know, look, I like Rick Perry personally, but I think the question of whether it's his number is probably the wrong one. Whether someone maybe got a hold of his phone, I guess is a possibility, but that is Rick Perry's phone number, the one he gives out.
So, and what's odd about that also is obviously, they won't offer an explanation. They just deny it. I didn't write that. Well, it came from your phone. It came from your phone. We've now, you know, confirmed the phone number on 2 different databases and from 5 people who know you. Daniela Gibbs-Leger, we just talked about this with Jamie, but this is the same Rick Perry who said this 6 years ago.
Let no one be mistaken. Donald Trump's candidacy is a cancer on conservatism, and it must be clearly diagnosed, excised, and discarded. It cannot be pacified or ignored, for it will destroy a set of principles.
It will destroy a set of principles. That's interesting.
Yeah, who knew Rick Perry was going to end up being quite a soothsayer? It just shows, again, how deep the rot of Trumpism has gone within the party. Like, look, I don't agree with Rick Perry on probably pretty much anything, but given like what he said during the 2015 election, I never would have guessed that he would have become a person who would text Mark Meadows the day after the election, before votes were even counted, trying to subvert the will of the American people. It's really, really disturbing. And it just goes to, again, how important it is to get Mark Meadows under oath and talk about what happened after he received those text messages.
And S.E., we should note, you know, this is a former governor and cabinet secretary, generally well regarded. And this week we also learned sitting lawmakers, Justice Department officials, former Defense Department officials, so many of them in on this attempt to undo the will of the American people. We can't just dismiss this as fringe, just some harebrained scheme among a couple bad apples. How has your own thinking shifted this week from what we've learned?
Well, it was a massive attempt at scamming, rigging, meddling in election, all the things that Donald Trump has accused other people of doing. All these people were interested in doing. Look, democracy was at work while they were suggesting this. Democracy was doing its job. The wheels of democracy were turning because the democracy is the counting part of the votes, right? You count the votes. That's how you know who won and who voted for whom. Before the votes were counted, while democracy was working, all of these people were suggesting a scam, a way to scam and thwart democracy. That is perpetrating a massive fraud on the American people. And I just can't imagine anyone defending this. And I'm not surprised Rick Perry, if he authored that, we don't know. If he authored that, I'm not surprised he's denying it. I would like to hear him denounce it, though.